Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Marvel, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Good morning to each and every one of you. It is now Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. It is threatening to be a little bit warmer today. We will see what's going on there. There's so much going on in the local news. I can't even begin to tell you, some of which I will address. And I am going to try again with my guest that I was supposed to have last week that will be on at 7 o'clock this morning. But first, I'm going to start with the morning motivation. And this one is about assumptions and our behaviors and branding. From time to time, I am asked by universities to be a guest lecturer and never walk away the same I walked in. Something really interesting happened in a consumer behavior class I taught a couple of years ago. We spoke at length about branding, how powerful it is, and used the Starbucks incident as the barometer. After they dissected it and drilled down on how and why this could have been prevented to stave the current bleeding and the intense loss this company will take and have taken several years later, Starbucks have laid off quite a few of their workers, including at the executive level. So you have to be careful about your branding. We began the discussion around personal branding. A gentleman raised his hand and said he believed African American men caused many of the things happening to them by the way they dressed and carried themselves in public. It embarrassed him, he said, and he deliberately separated himself from such behaviors. As he spoke, three black women nearly lost their minds and they began whispering furiously. I asked them to give him an opportunity to speak and I would give them a turn too. I looked at the young man and gently shared some instances of black men who followed all the rules but were still targeted and asked him if he was born in America. I already knew the answer was no, and he confirmed by saying he was from Ghana. It was his turn to fall out of his seat when I said, so, from my own research, I know you were never told as a child about slavery and was fed the narrative that people in America are just lazy and uninspired to be great through hard work. You learned about slavery as an adult in America. So the narrative you learned has to now be unlearned so that you can begin to understand fully what you have taken as gospel until now. Am I right? His face registered shock. And he acknowledged that he knew nothing about slavery from his continent to America and that it was deliberately kept from their curriculum. It has been hard for him as a full blown adult to wrap his head around slavery and the implications of it. Those black women got quiet and sat slack jawed at what they were hearing, and the conversation took a turn to one of listening to learn instead of judgment. That class was so crazy rich with lessons and insights. An hour after it ended, we were still there discussing perceptions of who we are as humans, how we carry ourselves, and what people think and believe when they are in our spaces. The white folks in the class joined in and added their points of view too, and the discussion bonded them in a way they never expected. A snippet in a day of my life. Not a day later, that young man from Ghana called me to say he was so impacted by that session, he vowed to think and research before speaking on that which he was not aware of beyond his personal feelings. Mission accomplished. I chose that today because there is a case playing out in public, the Kata Scott case, what's happening with Keon King, the fact that someone by the name of Shaka Johnson, which is a well-known Philadelphia criminal defense lawyer, for those of you who are not local to Philadelphia, had taken the case, and people were just all up in their feelings. This is what's going on, da 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 da. I'm going to caution all of you. So, rumors and conjecture, facts that may have been put out about this case after talking to an ex-police officer this morning could really harm the prosecution's case because you all are throwing everything out there. You all are throwing everything that you find, everything that you know, everything that you have heard out in the public. And to this ex-police officer's point, if we are not careful, Shaka Johnson, who is the defense attorney, will go out there and say, you know what, my client was already tried in the public and we need to move the venue. I'm going to caution all of you to just stop and think just a little bit. You can say without saying. There are things that I am very aware of that I will never discuss, not ever. First of all, you know, really trying to do this in a way that in the form of journalism so that people will understand and choose not to share as they know, right? Until I have the facts in front of me, until someone in authority comes out and says, yes, this is true, or no, this is not true, I will not put it out there. The other thing I want to caution you all about is when you see something, you get all up in your emotions. If you are being tried in a court of law for a criminal case or a civil case, everybody deserves representation, whether you think they're a monster or not. So when you're out here being emotional about, oh my God, I can't believe he took the case, somebody has to take the case. Somebody does. And Shaka Johnson is well known for taking the cases that no one else would think of winning. Whether you believe or not that he should have, that's something you need to do privately. I'm begging you, right? There are facts in this case that's going to come out that's going to blow minds, but you have to wait. I get that you're emotional. I get that you want to talk about this case. And I get, people are showing up and taking pictures about laying, teddy bears and whatever else for Kata Scott. It is devastating. We are taking this case for this young girl and making it about ourselves instead of sitting and saying to each other, how can we help to find more missing young women? There are tons of them missing in the city of Philadelphia and across the country. How can we then show up to call into the tips for what we know? How do we turn family members in if we know that they're doing things that they're not supposed to be doing? That's what I want us to talk about this morning, right? Kata Scott is a shining example of how we don't speak up about things until it becomes, this big old spectacle of a branding. You turn this child's death. So many have turned this young woman's death into let me go ahead and talk about it so I can brand myself. Let me go ahead and, post pictures about how I knew her. Let me go ahead and you all have made a mockery of this baby's murder, literally. Not intentionally, but you're really doing it, right? So can we please be mindful about what we say, how we say, when we say, if we say? Can we? It's so important. And you heard me just read the story about Brandy, that perception is reality. That young man thought that all Black men were just lazy and shiftless. I hear it quite a bit. The Jamaicans that are stiff-necked and the folks that are from the Caribbean and from the continent of Africa that are stiff-necked and believe this kind of stuff, don't have that conversation in front of me. Oh, baby. It's a lesson in what thou shalt not do. It's a lesson in do your research. It's a lesson in seek first to understand instead of always wanting to be understood. So they no longer have that conversation in my presence. Oh, I've had to check a few. And that's okay. That's absolutely okay, right? Because if I can't check my own people, then who else am I going to check? So they leave me alone. There's no talk about shiftless, all this other stuff. Because until you do your research about African Americans, what they've had to deal with, when we come into this country as immigrants and talk about, blah, 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 all the opportunities that immigrants get in this country is a direct result of the backs of African Americans who have had to fight, who have died, who have gone through all kinds of things. So you can come here and say, I can get a job and I can get 3 and I can take the money and take back to my family and all this other stuff. Stop the judgment. Okay. So, this young man learned, and this is what I'm trying to get all of you to do, is to really sit and think through before you say anything. Think 10 times before you post once. Another thing I'm about to adopt. Think 10 times before you post once. And just because you're not posting about it does not mean you don't care about what's happening. It means you're being responsible about what you see and hear. Now, you all have seen, I don't have to tell you, because folks are texting me. I'm talking to police officers. I know what the perceptions are, and I know what is real and what isn't. But it is irresponsible of me to go into the court of public opinion, which is called the marketplace, Facebook, and start pontificating about what I think I know and what I don't know. You want this young lady's perpetrator that committed her murder and the people that have been the accomplices, because it's now showing up in the news that Keon King had accomplices. Let the case play out. So many cases have been dropped or mistried, or people found not guilty because we shared too much in the moment. I'm begging you, let this case play out. As for the families who have had family members who were shot and killed, murdered, the missing children, show a little empathy for them too. Figure out, many of us know people who have missing children. Go and say, how can I support you? Because they're watching all of this and wondering, wait, what? Not that they don't care about what happens to Kata Scott. That's not the issue. The issue is there's so many more of their family members that are missing that no one's giving all this noise and credit to. This noise too. So the lesson here is, please, from my point of view, the lesson here is, please, when you hear of a young child missing, repost that, right? Help to find out. If you have a tip, call 215-6866-TIPS. That's local to Philadelphia. All this, I'm not snitching, and I'm not saying this about my family member, and I'm not saying that about my family member. Some of you have family members who are downright monsters, and you know them, but you want to make sure that they're protected. So now you're sitting here sounding like, oh my God, I can't believe so and so would do. Yes, you can believe. If you're checking your children, if you know who they are, and we as family members know who our children are, we know what our family members are capable of. So please, let this thing play out, please, without adding your court of opinion to it, because you may just inadvertently help this young man to get off just by the things you're showing and saying and releasing evidence that needs to stay in hand. Because the more you all talk and the more you release, the more Shaka Johnson is just, him and his people are gathering all the things and doing their due diligence on how to present a defense. So it's okay to feel, you can feel the sorrow. You can figure out how you can support the people who are helping victims. If you're someone who has the wherewithal to help the victims of folks who have been raped, the folks of the families of those family members who are missing, all of that, then yes, do that. But please, for the love of God, can we just be a little bit more mindful? That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going over here to the comments, and then I am going to read a little bit of news, because, it is what it is. It continues to happen. All right, let's see what y'all are saying. Good morning, Marguerite and Bobby and Laura. Shaquilla, good morning, my darling. Alexandra, Angela, good morning. Good morning, Viola, good morning. Joanne said, let me see. Marguerite says the public might just take the case. Be quiet already. Angela says that's what happened to the young football star that took his life. He was tried on social media before all the facts came out. That's a perfect example, Angela Jones. Perfect example. We need to kibba our mouths. Just stop talking. Stop wanting to be seen enough or to be seen as if you know all the facts in the case. Stop talking. Stop talking, please. And Marguerite says, even as people are distracted by this case, be mindful of things that are attempted to be passed under our noses by the powers that be. That too. That part. Good morning, Myra. Joanne said, exactly, Andrea. Even if something is factual, we don't always have the response. We don't always have to respond online. Loose lips sink ships. Right. Some of you all are posting things now because you heard about it, stuff that I knew last week. And I said, I have to be responsible. I cannot talk about this. I'm still having conversations privately. I will never say anything because it's just not our place. You really want this case to be tried where it's supposed to be. Marguerite said, someone accused me of being uncaring because I haven't posted once about the young lady's disappearance or death. I choose to be responsible. Absolutely. I had to post, Marguerite, because, I'm covering the news, but I was very careful about how I posted and what I posted. There were a friend of mine texted me and said there was a whole bunch of politicians out by the site where the young lady was, Kata was murdered, and they were taking pictures. And I said, don't you take one picture. Don't you take a picture, just go on about your business. See and keep moving. I passed through there on Saturday and said, I believe they found something. I didn't post what I saw. I didn't even take a picture. We have to learn how to not be in the space of having to be the one to uncover everything. You're killing us. Stop, please. And the things that we should be talking about, we're not talking about, right? I saw a young man on Instagram posting about freefood.com, where people can get food because our SNAP benefits are going to be cut off for November. That's millions of people that will not have food, monies to buy food, and that's also the month of Thanksgiving. Things are getting really rough out here. How are we discussing how we can support each other? What does that look like? Right? How are we discussing these elections with these judges? You want to talk about something? Talk about voting. Who you should be voting for versus who you should not be voting for. Because if you heard D.A. Krasner say, it was the judge that dropped the bail for King. Like, so these are the things where you have control. Your voting finger is where you have control. Pay attention to everything that's going on around you, and stop going on social media cussing each other out because somebody doesn't agree with you or somebody doesn't, respond to what you're saying on your page. There's so many other things going on. So many other things. There are folks without jobs, folks hungry, folks can't pay their electric bills and their water bills. This government, the United States president, the New York Times reported, my phone was down for 8 hours yesterday. So I was on my iPad. I literally said, y'all go ahead and handle this. Is asking the Justice Department, the president is asking the Justice Department to pay him $230 million for the past cases where he was tried and he felt he was unfairly tried. These are the things I want you to pay attention to. I want you to pay attention to Chicago and what the hell is going on there, and how this is coming to a state near you, right? I want us to pay attention. I want us to focus and pay attention to all of those things, and pray for Kada. Pray for the families who have missing children. Do you know how many missing children are here? Do you look on social media? How many of you have a social media page with the Philadelphia Police Department where they say this child is missing or that child is missing? And 9 times out of 10, it's a young Black girl. Come on, y'all. Can we take our energies and do what we need to do with it? And somebody can talk about both and. I'm talking about both and. Just because you're not out here spreading everything doesn't mean you're not interested in what's going on in the case. We have to learn how to use sound judgment as we're discussing these things. The lawyers are having a field day with this because they know what is and isn't, and I don't blame them. I don't. They're speaking up and telling you what is, and they're asking questions, right? Hi, good morning, Jana. Good morning, Dolores. Good morning to all of you. Because I now have a new phone, there may be some messages that you've sent me that I'm missing, so go ahead and resend. If you sent me something yesterday and I did not respond to you, please go ahead and resend, because I'm just not going to see it. David said, yeah, we are not talking about city council proposed bill requiring supermarkets to charge shoppers 10 cents for paper bags. At this point, David, we all should have one of them, those disposable bags. I got a bunch of them, right? And when I forget my bag, I literally scoop the things up in my arms and go, all right, I'm not paying. I'm just not. So I think they're probably just trying to force people to carry, their own disposable bags, reusable bags, I should say. So there's that. Good morning, David. Good morning, Jana. So let me cover a little bit of news, and we can go from there. So much is going on, Jesus, so much. In a way, I was happy that my phone was down because it forced me to just really slow down and adjust for a good 7-8 hours. Y'all just didn't know. I finally went to my iPad and said, all right, this is what's going on. Okay. Let's talk a little bit. Investigators are looking into whether there could have been an accomplice involved in the Kada Scott case. The 23-year-old Philadelphia woman went missing and was ultimately found dead. Scott disappeared during her work shift as an assisted living facility at an assisted living facility in Chestnut Hill on October 4th. According to reports, this is not, I'm not reading this on the news. This assisted living facility has been in a ton of issues because still trying to figure out how to use this phone, y'all, because they've had so many violations, so many people have died. They need to look into that facility too, right? Her body was then discovered in a shallow grave in the city's Germantown section. 2 weeks later, Keon King, 21, has been charged with her kidnapping, along with various other crimes connected to the case. However, at this point, no murder charges have been filed as investigators await findings of the autopsy. Police announced on Monday that they are also looking into the possibility of accomplices. We did charge conspiracy, so at this point, we do have reason to believe that other people have been involved after the fact, said Assistant District Attorney ADA Ashley Teslowski, adding that they were not going to comment yet on who those people are or the level of involvement. So what they're essentially saying is that she was killed before, and then he had accomplices to help bury her body. So this was written by 6ABC. Philadelphia City Council member Cindy Bass is calling for Ada H. Lewis Middle School to be demolished. Kada Scott's body was found near the vacant property Saturday. Bass represents District 8, which includes Germantown, where the school is located, Mount Airy, and several other neighborhoods. In a letter Friday to the school districts of Philadelphia, Superintendent Dr. Tony B. Watlington Bass wrote that residents in the East Germantown neighborhood have raised concerns about the vacant middle school being used for illegal activities, including illegal dumping. This is CBS News, but also I have friends that live in that area that said that for the last 17 years, they have been trying to get city council to look into that school because they've been complaining about it. 17 years, child had to die and be buried there for us to get there, but I'm going to leave that alone. Let me see. I see you, Joel. I'm going to let you in a second. A pardoned Capitol rioter was arrested last week for allegedly threatening to kill House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Court documents obtained by CBS News said Christopher Monahan was arrested Sunday after saying in text messages that he planned to eliminate Jeffries when the top House Democrat spoke at an event in New York City on Monday. Jeffries spoke at the Economic Club of New York on Monday. Monahan was arraigned Tuesday and entered a plea of not guilty. According to a court filing by prosecutors in the New York State criminal case, Monahan said, Hakeem Jeffries makes a speech in a few days in New York City. I cannot allow this terrorist to live. Pray for your public leaders, okay? I'm going to read this last thing and then I'm going to let Joel in. The Community College of Philadelphia has named the new president after a 4-month nationwide search. But in the end, they didn't have to go very far. Dr. Alicia Marshall, doctor, use her doctor, please, who was already serving as CCP's interim president, will officially become the school's 7th president, CCP announced in a news release on Tuesday. Marshall was previously one of 4 finalists for the role who participated in 1-hour public forums with the community. Dr. Marshall was selected because of her demonstrated commitment to student success, outstanding leadership, and commitment to the college mission, the school said. I gotta read this. And that was CBSNews.com. The music begins low and ominous with the video showing searchlights skimming along a Chicago apartment building and heavily armed immigration agents storming inside. Guns are drawn. Unmarked cars fill the streets. Agents rappel from a Black Hawk helicopter. But quickly the soundtrack grows more stirring and the video, edited into a series of dramatic shots and released by the Department of Homeland Security days after the September 30 raid, show agents leading away shirtless men, their hands zip-tied behind their backs. Authorities said they were targeting the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, but only 2 of the 37 immigrants arrested were gang members. The others were in the country illegally, they said, including some with criminal histories. 1 U.S. citizen was arrested in an outstanding narcotics warrant. Read between the lines. Remember what David talked about? Read between the lines. Okay. Let me open this here. Joel disappeared. Let me see if I can find him. Let me see if I can find him. Because he was here. darlings. Okay. Hold on, darlings. Um, Good morning, Laverne. Alexandra says, David Lipscomb, we have to turn you onto the thermal reusable bags and QVC. I can't wait to use my new one for tailgate this weekend. Morning, Laverne. How are you? Marguerite says, I looked at that facility when I was searching for assistance for my mom. I was turned off when I entered the front door. I didn't even do the tour. Yeah, they say it's horrible in there. It's just really horrible. So that facility that Kata Scott worked in is an issue that needs to be addressed. Um, but we'll get to that shortly thereafter. Laverne says, David, I haven't purchased a bag since the store started selling them. I'll carry groceries in my bra first. You are hilarious. Good morning, Carla. Good morning, darling. Good morning. So let's me I don't see Joel. He was here. I don't know where he disappeared to. All right. We'll wait for him to come back. All right, so let's see what else is in the news while we're at it. As the government shutdown enters its fourth week, Senate Republicans are headed to the White House on Tuesday, not for urgent talks on how to end it, but for a display of unity with President Donald Trump as they refuse to negotiate on any Democratic demands. Senate Democrats, too, are confident in their strategy to keep voting against a House-passed bill that would reopen the government until Republicans, including Trump, engage them in an extending healthcare subsidies that expires at the end of the year. With both sides showing no signs of movement, it's unclear how long the stalemate will last, even as hundreds of thousands of federal workers will miss another paycheck in the coming days, and states are sounding warnings that key federal programs will soon lapse completely. And the lunch meeting in the White House Rose Garden appears unlikely for now to lead to a bipartisan resolution as Senate Republicans are dug in and Trump has followed their lead. It was written by phillytrib.com. The massive Amazon website services. Amazon says a massive outage of its cloud computing service has been resolved as of Monday evening, even after a problem disrupted internet use around the world, taking down a broad range of online services, including social media, gaming, food delivery, streaming, and financial platforms. My bank was like, we know Bunny said to come, just bear with us. It impacted so many people. The all-day disruption and the ensuing exasperation it caused served as the latest reminder that 21st century society is increasingly dependent on just a handful of companies for much of its internet technology, which seems to work reliably until it suddenly breaks down. About 3 hours after the outage began early Monday morning, Amazon Web Services says it is starting to recover, but it wasn't until 6 p.m. Eastern Time that the services returned to normal operations, Amazon said on its Amazon Web Services health website where it tracks outages. Why is Amazon in charge of so many things, so many platforms? If y'all can't see the danger of that, I don't know what to tell you. That was written by 6abc.com. Unless Congress takes immediate action to end the government shutdown, beneficiaries of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as SNAP in Pennsylvania, will not receive payments for November, the state's Department of Human Services said on Monday. According to officials, SNAP payments rely on funding from the federal government, and Pennsylvania's state government does not have the funds available to backfill the lost funding. Republicans' failure to pass a federal budget in Washington, D.C., is having a direct impact on our Commonwealth, and now this federal shutdown is threatening critical food assistance for 2 million Pennsylvanians who rely on SNAP to feed themselves and their families, Governor Josh Shapiro said in a press release. State officials said that the November payments could still go out if Congress takes immediate action, but Republicans and Democrats remain at odds on Monday, and it is unclear when they will reach a funding deal. Jesus Christ, the amount of people. Speaking of Governor Josh Shapiro, He is publishing a memoir in January 2026 covering everything from his swift political rise in Pennsylvania to landing on Kamala Harris's shortlist for vice president and the trauma of his home being set on fire. Harper, an imprint of HarperCollins publisher, announced Tuesday that Where We Keep the Light, Stories from a Life of Service, will be released on January 27th. Shapiro, 52, has become a prominent national Democrat since he was elected governor in 2022. The Pennsylvania governor was on Harris's shortlist as a running mate in last year's presidential election. And this was written by CBSNews.com. Let me let him in. Good morning. Joel, can you see me? Can you hear me? There you go.
I can do
Joel
both.
Wilson, good morning. You woke up, huh? I saw you say you acted early. Joel Wilson is the founding member and president of IBB Investment Group, LLC, a diverse group of progressive and business-minded African Americans who work together on various investment strategies to ultimately pour wealth into the Black community in Philadelphia. Good morning, Joel. How are you, my
Good
brother?
morning. I'm
Good
doing
morning.
good.
A couple of things. I want you to talk about, IBBB and, how people can build wealth, $20, $50 at a time. But I also want you to talk about the 30th anniversary of the March in Washington with the Black men. So where do you want to start?
We could start with IB Big.
Okay.
We've definitely hit some milestones this year, and first let's just pay a little homage to Reverend Leon H. Sullivan. His
Yes.
birthday was October 16th, so that just
Yes.
transpired.
Hmm.
And so as I was getting ready this morning, one of the things that I just thought about was the fact that we were able to pick up the blueprint he laid out
Yes.
and continue it. And I think one of the crucial things for our community is that there are plenty of folks who produced blueprints for our independence, our success. The challenge really has been we have failed to follow the blueprints. And so for whatever reason, it's taken, Black Philadelphians, because this is where it came from. It came out of Black Philadelphia. It took us all these many years to really pick up on his crowdfunding approach, getting Black
Hmm.
people to put their money together to build assets. And we've proven that it works. So it's not a theory. We modernized it, of course, to use the current day technology.
Right.
But this is something that we have to build upon. And I'll just lean on one other uh, book, which I think is crucial for us, and that book is The Color of Money. And in that book, the author argues the number one power in this country is economics. And you know, uh, Whether it's economics or an MLK, he says it's ideology. I think those are the one and two to deal with. In politics, extremely important, but it comes in behind both of those.
Hmm.
And so we really have to understand the importance of economics. With economics, we vote with our dollars, not only every day, but every minute of every day. We vote with our dollars. Elections come once or twice a year, and it's seismic shifts in resources on those days. But economics happens every day. And for those of us in the crypto market, it's every millisecond.
Hmm.
So we have to understand this and see how we can build wealth collectively, and we could solve a lot of our problems. And again, we created a blueprint. So I just wanted
Oh,
to share that we have hit some new heights for 2025.
hold
Yes.
on one second for me. Why is it so difficult? Because I've been having this conversation with you now for years, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden it's starting to pick up. Is it because of what's going on in the economy and people are very concerned about what's getting ready to happen to them? Where do you think the uptick came from? Because you and I have been beating this for years. You have been beating it yourself for years. I think of Jimmy and others who have been talking about IB Big for years, and we kept saying it is $50 a month at the minimum for an adult, 25 for a young person.
Yeah, well, we're battling some tremendous headwinds. I mean, um, the impact of slavery is still real.
Yeah.
It's and it is the impact of enslavement on our educational process, our formal education process. They still have not dealt with that effectively. I mean, our kids are still being grossly miseducated, to have identity crisis and all kinds of things. So one of the things that's embedded in that type of education is a distrust of fellow black folks, and the narrative that black people are criminals and you can't trust
Hmm.
black men, and yada
Hmm.
yada yada yada.
Hmm.
That stuff, it for people, it's real, and it takes a lot to combat that. But I think we're doing what we need to do. We're being consistent and all that. And we have to also realize, I know my wife says this to me all the time. Well, Joel, you got to realize that a lot of folks in our community have been scammed by folks that look like us. And
That
so
part.
that's
Thank you for
something,
lifting that up. Yes.
yeah. So we have to have patience, and having integrity is crucial, and we got transparent systems so
Yes.
that you're not taking our word for it. You
Right.
can really see, touch, and feel that we're doing what we're saying we're doing. And I can't say enough about our executive team. Just bright, brilliant, tremendous integrity. They great
Transparent.
stewards, transparent. So, and it's a lot to form that team.
Yeah.
We know how to form sports teams, but can we come together and form teams that harness brain power for
Hmm.
what we need? And that's the challenge. So
Hmm.
I think we're doing it, and we're setting a model, and we're going to continue. And hopefully, one of the goals now, as because we're set, we're a system, we're an engine, but we want to try to get other folks to step up into some leadership and create investment clubs. Everyone can't join our club. We have a
Yeah.
physical limitation, so we need other folks to create investment clubs, and we're willing to help out where we can.
So what you're trying to do now is have other folks create offshoot of another investment club, because you're right. How many members are we up to now?
So we're up to 51, I think, is our formal number. We probably have about 3, 4 in the pipeline, and we're bringing on like 1 or 2 every month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you can see we're going to run out of space, and legally in the state of PA, LLC can have 100 members.
Yes.
So we're going to come up with an expansion plan. But even with that, you still can't accommodate. It's millions of black people in this country. In the city alone, we have well over half a million.
Hmm.
So we can't. There's going to be a limitation of who can join our particular club. So we
Hmm.
need other folks to step up and do it. And we will be putting out some information things for people to follow. And again, I'm gonna throw at the top integrity.
Hmm.
And investment clubs is not where you just pick your friends. You all
Child.
went to the same whatever, and so you're gonna vote
Hmm.
for that. No, not at all. You don't
Hmm.
pick people like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and
yeah.
in this investment club, if you don't pay for several months, they'll check in with you to ask you what if you have something going on. And if you ignore them and you don't pay, baby, they will absolve you and move you right out. And I can say what you can't say. They will absolve you and move you right on out. May the Lord bless her added to the reading. Goodbye, because it's about making money. Where's the investment club now?
Me financially,
I don't know if
or
I want you to tell.
well, I mean, we're doing well. We're pulling back on some of the financial disclosures.
Yes,
The
thank you.
climate is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say we've already hit our target for 2025. We're ahead of that.
Yeah.
So we've already created a projection
Mm-hmm.
for 2026, January 2026, moving out. We're looking at 3, 4, and 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll just say this: in that time frame, 3, 4, 5 years, we will absolutely hit $1 million.
I think we'll hit it.
Um,
I think we'll hit it way faster than we think. at this point because we grew
You know,
exponentially. Well, again, that depends on who else joins. It depends on the investments that are made. It depends on the market, because all the
right.
things that are fluctuating. It depends on what we have invested in. And let me give you the disclosure. I'm a part of this club. I joined this club years ago. Joel reached out and said, "Did you ever considered?" I said, "Child, let's go." Because you see, I can see a good thing when I see a good thing. And when he said, which is why I took it to the radio station, because I said, because the people were saying to me, "There's no way for us to build wealth." I heard that consistently. Black people cannot build wealth, blah 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 blah. And I said, "Well, have you heard of?" And they still, it was just so weird. So now what you're going to see is a bunch of people trying to join this thing. And there is a space there where you have to go through some stuff. You don't just get on and say, "I want to join and I know
Correct.
Joel and I'm going to be a part of this thing." It doesn't work that way. Right. They really
Correct.
vet you to make sure that you pay, that you're
Right.
not out there whiffling and waffling. Um, and
Let me
so,
throw out two things. These are the two things that I think make a lot of people have pause. The first one is that you actually have to read a book. You have to read Miseducation of the Negro, because
mhm,
we need to make sure that folks are we're on, not going to say the exact same page, but we're at least in the same room. We're sort
mhm,
of viewing um, life from a particular vantage point, and it's centered in our history and culture. And so that, for whatever reason, it weeds a lot of people out. The next thing I want to disclose to people up front, so there's no shock. Um, Everybody who joins, we put them through a AML check. That's a bank check. That's anti-money laundering check. So again, our goal is to keep the scammers and the flim flam and all that kind of stuff
mhm,
far, far away. We do social media checks on folks
mhm.
now who are saying they're interested. So if your social media is just wow, we're just not going to, you're not going to move any further
Yeah,
than that initial
yeah,
step. And
yeah.
again, this is real. This is people have funds locked up in here, and we're trying to
Yes.
be good stewards with the money.
Absolutely. Let's talk. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss with IB Big? Because again, we have to be mindful.
Yeah,
Um,
one other thing that I'm really excited about. So one of the things that I've been mulling over at least a good year is how uh, I guess predatory lending impacts our community, and and that's been forever. So it's not like that's a new thing. But here's the thing that really gets me about predatory lending is that we as a community, as a Black community, we fully know what predatory lending is doing to us, yet we've come up with almost no solution to
mhm,
help our people.
mhm, mhm,
And to me, I'm like, that just doesn't make any sense. So
mhm,
on the investment club side, I've been having some of my late night writing sessions with my computers. So wrote up some
mhm,
plans, sent it over to our micro loan chair, who is
mhm.
a banker, for him to review, and he could put it
And
through
he's a
his due
stellar
diligence.
banker. Once he
Yeah,
joined, I felt like, yes, Black Jesus, we are in, because he knows all the processes.
exactly, exactly. He's got 20 plus years in large banking.
Mhm,
So we have a plan in which we're going to be able to offer loans, longer term loans to partners. So this is not for
mhm,
the general public, but for partners. But the real plan, so when I say longer term, 12 to 24 months. And this will allow folks to get out of some of the predatory loans that they're in. So if you're in like a very high credit card is killing you, or you had to take a payday loan or anything like that, we'll have a product. I sound like a banker. We'll have a product
yeah, yeah,
that our partners can get in, because our goal is when we can get you out of these predatory type loans, these high, interest, finance charge, terrible customer service, we get you out of it. Your individual credit score goes up.
yeah.
Your cash flow improves. You can invest more money. So it's
Hmm.
in our interest. And why aren't we doing these things?
Oh, I
Like
don't
we as
know.
a community, again, we handle the numbers that the Black community bring in and handle, a year, it is tremendous. But we have no solution to help us with predatory lending.
Yeah, because we bring in the money, but we just spend it, right? It's the we are
But
so
I'm talking about our
busy.
institutions. Our
Oh,
institutions take this money in,
yes,
and
they sure do. They sure do.
what
You're
have they
right.
done to
And
help
we can't get
people?
any loans. Amen. Can you give me the email again? Uh,
So, if for folks who want to join, interested in IB Big, membership at ibbig.net, membership at ibbig.net, and also let me throw out there we have a link, join.ibbig.net, join.ibbig.net. With that link, you'll get on our email list. We have several events coming up. Our holiday event is coming up. Plus, we have several workshops we're going to be doing. We had a great success last year. We did the MLK Planning Day. We're going to do another one this year.
mhm.
We want to reclaim what MLK was really trying to push us to. And from everything I read, it was not cleaning up buildings. It
Mm-mm.
wasn't.
Child, we knew that. We absolutely knew that. Okay, so I have someone in Atlanta who has been talking about joining that I know very well. You'll get the email shortly, and I will vouch
Okay.
for them. Right?
Okay. Is their last name Sanders?
No,
Saunders?
no,
Okay.
no.
I just
That's
got an email last night. So
really,
yeah. So we're gonna work
yeah.
that out. I talked
I
it
am
over with.
vouching for people that I really truly know that can do this stuff. Really, right?
Yeah, bless your heart. Bless your heart.
So you should hear from them shortly. But yeah, and they've been talking about this for at least a year. Like I need to. She said, yeah, she said I'm working on pulling my head out of the sand with all that's going on in the country. So yeah, and I suspect now because just think about this, y'all. If you had joined IB Big in 2020 and you were putting in, you could put in anywhere from 50 to 100 to $200 a month, and then there are times where you can invest more money into the thing. And let's say from 2020 to now, you put in $200 a month and you lost your job and you're trying to figure it out and you need a micro loan or you need to sell some of your shares. That kind of stuff, is helpful. People sell their shares, and say,
Yeah,
I need to be able to do this and this. Can I sell some of my shares? And those of us who are sitting in there going, I'll buy some. And they make it so fair that you can only buy a certain amount of shares. So one person cannot own everything, right? And
right.
this is a great space to be in, but we've been telling you this for years. I don't know how else to tell you. So now here we are, right? Um, and the bank will not give you. I don't think you'll get the same benefit from the bank, based on like the micro loan. What the interest rate
Right.
is
We have,
minimal.
yeah, we have several. For one, if you take a micro loan, you're preserving your equity in the club.
Yeah.
So if you had 5 grand in the bank and you wanted to just you needed to take it out, your 5,000 would be gone. You'd have the money, but it would no longer be in the bank. With us, you can keep the 5K, borrow, and then you could just make payments back. So, and the beauty of that, when it's in an investment club, let's say you took the loan for a year. So you borrowed 5K, you're making your payments back. In an investment club, at the end of that year, that 5K may now be worth 6K. So you've appreciated on that and you paid the loan back. So it's just some great features that we can do. And we should have been doing more stuff like this. We should really be using the market to help us get out of the situation that we're in. There was a time in which we could not participate in the market,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but we can. I mean, one of the great things that happened in the civil rights in the 1960s, it gave us access to business access. Now, granted, it hasn't been equitable, but we have access. We have legal access, and folks and things can't just be taken from us now with no recourse. So as we build assets and things, we can do it. And keep in mind, we have folks who've been, whether they've been in corporate America or just investing on their own, they've been, you know, accumulating huge sums of money, retiring. You know, folks retiring with a couple $1 million individually.
Mm-hmm.
So we can just scale that up so that collectively now we have a benefit for the group.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when I look at it, this is the truest form of cooperative economics. I mean, if there's
Economics, right?
something that's better, let
Yeah,
me know, share it with me. But
yeah.
this, you know,
You
an
know,
investment club is true cooperative economics.
yeah, Leon H. Sullivan wrote in his book Build Brother Build that he got this idea from his Jamaican grandmother, from our partner, that she did a thing. I don't think he named what it was exactly, but it's called partner. And people, and I mean, it was like a banking system in the community without the banks being involved, right? And people would all put in their money. Everybody would take their draw. Once a week, somebody would get a draw until everybody got their money. But it really was a great way to save, right? In the moment. So you just wasn't throwing your money out there, and you would take your partner draw and you would invest it in something else, or pull it all together to buy something to for your farm or whatever else, right? And in Trinidad it's called susu, and so
Right.
it's been in existence in our communities. We're told that we have to put all our money in the bank because it's safer there and it's FDIC insured. And I just read an article about a woman who realized that her 401k was disappearing right in front of her eyes through her job. She lost
Wow.
$50,000 and counting, right? And she's
Wow.
asking questions and no one's able to answer them for her. So we have options, y'all. And with the way things are going right now, I'm telling you, just be really thoughtful about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And that's all I'm going to say. Because, I have, because I have seen Black Wall Street, because I have seen all the things that have happened to Black people who are building wealth, it's really in our best interest not to share too much at this point. So email them, they will vet you, and then we'll go from there. 3 years ago it was email them, and it's just different now. It's just different now, y'all. So let's talk about the 30th anniversary of the Million Man, because it's membership at
Yes.
ibbig.net. Let's go there, and let's talk about the event that's coming up.
Yes. So the 30th anniversary celebration for the Million Man March will take place this Sunday, 8 a.m. And it's going to start off with a 5K walk from
Mhm,
three different locations. I
mhm,
myself will be at 30th and Market. I'll be
mhm,
at 30th and Market. There is a contingent walking from the Leon H. Sullivan Plaza, so Progress
mhm.
Plaza. So they'll be walking from there. And then the third group out of South Philly will be walking from Creative and Performing Arts.
Okay.
So we're asking folks to, to start in, men in particular, men, young men, brothers, uncles, fathers,
Mhm,
and boys, youth in your family, your church, your community, to start at one of those locations and walk with them. Um, if you want to go straight to Love Park, because that's where we're all heading, you can do that as well.
mhm, mhm,
There will be a series of course, speakers. There'll be different uh, information tables set up
mhm.
providing information. There will be a small talk on cooperative economics,
Economics. Mhm.
and there will be two gentlemen speaking on that. One is Atif Bostic, who is the
Ah.
chair of
Mhm.
Uplift Solutions,
Mhm.
and myself. So I'll be
Mhm.
speaking on behalf of IB Big.
Okay.
Uh, so there's a list of credible things that our young men and older men and
Mhm.
Black people in general can get involved with to help change their life. And I would just like to say on a personal tip. So I attended the Million Man March. And I was 1995, I believe. I was 26 at the time. I was a
Mhm.
new, pretty recent college grad,
Mhm.
and I've always been self-employed. So when I came out of college, I went straight into business. I initially had a t-shirt business. I was in an old gallery, had a t-shirt cart, and I started doing computer consulting. And computer consulting at first was my side gig, but
Mhm.
by that time, it became my primary business, and I was mentoring. So I've been mentoring like college students when I was still young myself. So I went
Mhm.
down to the march, and that was interesting because at that time, it was almost like you were taking a risk. Like it was this tone in the community. People were fearful,
Mhm.
and I'll say this. My own personal experience at my church at the time, my church was not supportive at all. And I literally, we had a men's meeting or conference or something. And the men, the older men in the church, they were just going in about, they didn't like Minister Farrakhan and blah, blah, blah. And my young whippersnapper self stood up
Mhm.
and said, I'm going. I
Yeah.
wasn't hiding. I wasn't, nothing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you to your face, I'm
Yeah.
going.
Mhm.
And I went, and I went with my two brothers,
Mhm.
and it was one of the most powerful experiences I've had in my life. And up to that time, I think I had recently become a Mason.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna tell you that experience I had at the Million Man March was transformative. The peace and love I witnessed by brothers from all over the country.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
mean, you could literally, it could be it was, hundreds of thousands, and I do believe it was 2 million men down there, but you
Mhm.
could literally take a $10 bill and say, pass it to that brother, 1,000 brothers over,
Mhm.
and they surely would get that money. I mean, it was
Mhm.
it was just a type of brotherhood. So we got to realize that what a lot of us are living in this country, this reality is contrived, is forced upon us. This is not our
Mhm.
nature. So
Mhm.
when we can
Mhm.
come to events like this to get a glimpse, to get back to the nature, and for I've heard folks say, well, it didn't do anything, it didn't do that, and I'm saying, and my response to that is, it didn't do anything to you.
Right.
It didn't cause you to do anything. But when I look at my life, I say the reason I founded TechCore is rooted in my experience at the Million Man March. The reason I expanded, I doubled down, tripled down on how I help young people
Mhm.
in my computer company, JCW Computer Consulting. I hired 3 young men this week.
Mhm.
3 young black men this week is
Mhm.
rooted
Mhm.
in my experience at the Million Man March. The reason I stuck to creating an investment club is rooted in the Million Man March. So it
Mhm.
may not have impacted you,
Mhm.
but it impacted me and a ton of other brothers. I was looking at some Facebook posts. Taj Murdoch, he talked about his experience, and that helped him found Men of Courage, Akil
Mhm.
Parker, and what he's doing in
All that matters.
educating our folks in
Mhm.
math.
Mhm.
So it may
Mhm.
not have impacted you, but that ain't
Mhm.
got nothing to do with the brothers out here that it did impact and what we're
Mhm.
doing for the community.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that, Joel, because I believe it created a space of harmony and healing for Black men. I'm about to address the report that just came out about Black men and suicide and prostate cancer. Once a month, I have a nurse on from Penn to talk about Black men's health. I'm purposeful. I wish somebody would call me and tell me I shouldn't do it. And I've been doing that for years too, just to get brothers to have the dialogue. And as a direct result, we're talking to more and more brothers around their health when they're experiencing depression and anxiety. After talking to this nurse now, he won an award too for doing this show. Um, the After talking to this brother for a while, um, when I go to visit my grandchildren, one of the things I make it a point to do is to just grab my son and hug him. He's so look forward to it, not just hold on to him. I can feel him exhaling because all the things he has to pull in every day as a Black man at work, how he's treated, all the things. Every day, every week that I hug him, I feel like I'm saving his life. I can't describe it to you, but it's like he has a place to just unload that stuff. Same thing with my husband. Sometimes he comes home when he was in the school district. Oh my God. He came home one day and just leaned into me and I just held him. And we don't do that for our men because we believe that they have to just, oh my God, they have to be all this other stuff. And while women are able to talk through what they're dealing with and what's going on with them, men tend to hold that stuff in. So we're going to continue to do this work. We continue, and I talk so much about women all the time. I'm a woman, so I'm always having discussions about what we women deal with, but for some reason we don't seem to talk so much about the brothers, and I'm all about that life, because I want you all to thrive. I want you all to have a space to talk about the things that bother you. Brother emailed me and I burst into tears last week. He said he was trying to get custody of his twins. His twins have now disappeared. And so all the stuff that's gone on through the court system, I'm not going to get too much into it because I'm getting ready to interview him. But he said, I remembered you were the first person, Mrs. Sanders, that spoke about Black men and their children and what's going on in the court system. And he said, I no need to have a dialogue with you about it, because here I am, wanted my children, the court system, the judges, Philadelphia, just a lot going on here. So I'm going to tackle the things nobody wants to talk about unapologetically, because I want you all to be okay. You are who we lean to when we want our love and support. You are our overarching, and I'm sorry that I'm dumping it all on you, but I just want you to feel what I am feeling as I'm talking about our brothers and how you mean, what you mean to us every single day when society spits at you and tells you you can't, you shouldn't, you don't have any agency at all. Thank you. On behalf of every sister that is married to a brother, thank you. Thank you. And so I'm going to continue to use my voice to support and help all of you in the best way that I know how to. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, my brother. Thank you so much for joining us. You'll get some emails, membership@ibbig.net. And if they say they know me, tell them they better prove it. Ask them what my pinky toe looks like.
Will do. Will do.
That's so crazy. Listen, y'all, I gotta go to the gym as always. That is how I maintain my level of peace. Um, Dolores said something that I need you all. Saturday morning to senior, it's Sunday. It's happening on Sunday. So reach out to membership@ibbig.net and ask them, please. And there's a flyer. He sent me a flyer. I'll post the flyer. So that you guys can get that. Um, Phew, I got to get off this air. I do this every day. Marguerite says a lot of the elders dismissed the Million Man March because they felt it was all things Muslims, and rather than an opportunity for all men to discover who they were and what they needed as men. Absolutely true. And we've got to get out of this egotistical tripping that we've been doing. It's too much. Dolores says, please, do we know what is happening with the dollar? Will we be dealing with invisible money like credit card where it's all tracked? Do you want someone to track? Dolores, they've been doing that. It's called Cash App, Apple Pay, Venmo. They're literally trying to go into that space where we're not using the dollar, right? And I don't know how long it will take for that to become a permanent thing, if at all. So it's a lot happening. Marguerite, I never have fun at the gym. You already know who I'm dealing with. Audra's about to tear my behind up. So yes, Dolores, we'll figure that out. Okay. And Jasenia, I'll post the flyer as soon as I get out of the gym this morning. I've got people calling me now and I got to get on the road. I love you all. This episode of Mornings with Mova is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.